Hey everybody, what's up? My name is Aussie Game and Brony, and I forgot my own name then. Yeah. And today I will be reading the first chapter of a fan fiction called The Changeling and the Pony. This is a love story. Yeah, a love story. Even if you're not into things like that, I still recommend you at least listen to the first chapter, which will be this video, and see if you enjoy it. This will be rated M because it has a few, well, not M, yeah, M, I guess, because it has a few, like, mature words in it, so, yeah. Hope you enjoy the video. Well, reading. A storm was starting to settle in the fall of Equestria. Ponies all around Ponyville and beyond were locking up and getting ready for their day indoors. Most of them, but not all of them. Fluttershy was in the woods, just in the backyard of her little cabin. She had gone a little further than she should have, but she wasn't alone. She had a white pet bunny Angel with her, and strangely enough she felt safe with the small animal's presence. The little Pegasus hovered through the air and with a flower basket in her mouth, and Angel close behind her. "Come on, Angel Bunny," she said in a quiet voice while still gripping the basket handle in her jaws. "We have to hurry. The Pegasi have scheduled quite a storm today, and we gotta find some good flowers fast." Angel hopped around and inspected some bushes, spotting some dark blue flowers. He eagerly tapped his foot to get her attention and pointed them out. But she shook her head. "No, Angel. Remember, it has to be pink flowers. Pink as pink can be." Angel, frustrated, pulled away from the flowers and hopped along in continued search. Frankly, he'd rather be inside snugly warm instead of searching in the forest for some stupid posies with his master. The mare then looked behind her in the direction she knew her cabin was in. "Oh, I hope today's storm doesn't rain the picnic out. Pinkie Pie's been planning this party for weeks." But her thoughts were interrupted when she heard Angel tapping his foot again, not too far off. She flew over to him and saw the bunny posing in front of another bush with his arms out, looking quite satisfied. Sure enough, there was some beautiful pink roses growing from the plant's branches, clashing nicely with the surrounding green and brown. She smiled happily at the pretty flowers and put her basket down beside her. "Aha! This is perfect. Pinkie will love these. It may not be enough for now, but I'm sure we can find some more later." She then felt a drop of water on her head and looked up at the grey sky beyond the forest cabin's canvas. "We'd better hurry, though, before we both get soaked." The mare patted Angel on top of her head with her hoof. "Good job, boy. When we get home, I'll make sure you get extra cucumbers in your salad." The bunny gave a small hop of joy and started helping Fluttershy pick the roses. As Fluttershy picked them carefully with her mouth, she was being extra careful to avoid the bush's thorns. Not too far away were two prying blue eyes watching them. A changeling, who every pony figured disappeared months ago, eyed the pony hungrily. Though it had been a long time, the creature recognized the pale yellow Pegasus with the smooth flowing pink mane pale pink mane. She was one of the 6 mares who had helped stop their queen from taking over Canterlot and Equestria. And the sight of her was really pissing him off. That's actually what it says. Ever since the changelings got scattered, he'd been struggling to find them and connect with the hive mind, but to no avail. No longer in his family, he struggled to find love to feed off of. And animals inside this stupid forest did just have enough little to none significant enough to feed him. So basically, he was starving. And this one mare of the 6 he hated so much had overwhelming amount of love coming from her. He could sense it was love for her friends, but was almost as powerful as love for somebody special and was making him hungry. Love, it was such a stupid thing. But it was nectar he needed to live that she possessed. Right now, she had something he wanted, and he was going to take it by force. The creature let out a small hiss, and then drooled at the thought. After he drained all the positive emotions she had within her, he would have enough energy to continue looking for his hive, and then they could come back and start with Ponyville this time. Slowly, he stalked towards the distracted mare, who had just continued picking the pink roses and dropping them in her flower basket. Normally, changelings wouldn't attack and forcibly take love from their victims. They preferred to charm and seduce their prey with trickery and slowly drain them. However, this time his hunger was overriding his caution. He could care less about this unusual method or the rabbit that was with her. He was just focused on the mare in front of him. This proved to be a foolish mistake, as Angel's ears twitched and heard his silent footsteps with his long superior hearing. He spun around and gave a squeak of surprise at the strange being with glowing eyes. Panicking, he pulled as hard as he could on Fluttershy's long mane. "Ow!" she yanked back from him. "Angel, what are you—" He interrupted her with a frantic hop and pointed behind her. The changeling inwardly cursed himself as the yellow Pegasus turned around and faced him. Oh no! She backed away from him. Even in the dim light of the forest and the cloudy sky, she could see the creature before her clearly. He was dark greyish-brown, almost black colour. That's not how you spell colour. And had a pony-esque shaped figure. But he had a hard shell and a bug-like instead of fur like a pony. His ears were torn and pointed, and he had a horn coming out from the middle of his forehead. He said, almost like a unicorn's, but sharper. And his wings weren't like a Pegasus's feathers ones, but thin and translucent bug wings with many holes. His thin legs were also full of holes, making them look rotten and gross. Fangs jutted out of the creature's drooling mouth, and his glowing eyes were absent of pupils, but full of hatred. Fluttershy knew exactly what this figure was, as she had had many nightmares of them after the event in Canterlot. "A changeling!" she cried, backing further away and knocking down her flower basket, spilling its pink contents all over the grass. Rain began to pour and soak her pink mane, making it droop against the ground. The only thing she could see that distinguished him from the other changelings she met was he had an odd chest plate that marked the dark blue pattern on his backside, making him seemingly more frightening than before. Knowing that the cat was out of the bag, the monster growled and planned to just attack her head-on. Angel stood protectively in front of his master, honestly believing he could fight the mythical creature off. As the changeling closed in on them, Fluttershy also noticed he was a little taller than the others, a few feet above her, and his fangs and horns were longer. Perhaps this one was older? It didn't matter to her as she tried to lift her wings and fly off, but she was too scared But she was so scared that they had once again locked in place at her side, rendering her flightless. It was just like that time with the red dragon, and what a worse time it was. She tried to pull Angel back with her hoof, getting ready to make a run for it. Knowing his prey was about to bolt, the changeling gave a loud hiss of fury and leapt over Angel, pouncing on the yellow Pegasus. She gave a scream as they tumbled over, and he pinned her to the grass with his hoofs. His sharp horns starting to glow a sickly green. She struggled underneath him and tried to desperately push the bigger mass off her, but he didn't budge. His skin against her really did feel like a smooth bug shell, and it was disgusting. The changeling was surprised. He hadn't fed well in weeks, and he was weaker than he had been before. Yet this pony was still unable to move him. It was almost humorous to see how weak she was, if he had a sense of humour. This was good news for him, as that would make this meal easier, but she was still trying to put up a fight. Knowing he had trapped her, he caught one of his falling hooves with failing hooves with his teeth and bit his fangs down into it hard. Fluttershy gave a cry of pain as a few drops of her blood trickled down her arm. Though the pain was devastating for a delicate pony, she started yanking her arm from him as hard as she could. She would risk gashes and possible scars from her pulling, but she was willing to try anything to survive now. Andrew tried to save his friend by scratching and biting the changeling's hoof to make him release her, but his puny efforts felt like bug scratches to the creature as he just ignored the bunny and continued his attack on Fluttershy. Tears stained her cheeks as his fangs cut and bit in deeper into her hoof, but he refused to release her. Let me go, please! Her begging fell on deaf ears as he only pinned her down tighter to keep her steady. In the midst of her fighting, she gasped and she suddenly started to feel a tingling sensation throughout her body that started from the wound and travelled over her in a thick blanket. The tingling soon became numbing. Her pain had started to subside, but so did everything else, and it became harder to move. She realised in horror that the bite-head changeling wasn't to trap her, but to paralyze her with some kind of poison. She bit her lip and tried to resist the numbing that travelled through her veins, kicking about wildly. Desperate, and despite her best efforts, it wasn't enough as the changeling simply pulled her arm. She bit her back hard, enough to keep it straight, and his horn glowed brighter. In a slow fashion, he was enveloped in a green aura of energy, and it wasn't long before it enveloped her too. The creature stared her down evilly as her positive energy flowed into him, slowly starting to sate his crushing hunger. She could feel something being drained from her, something being stolen from deep inside her heart. The yellow man knew that he was feeding off her love she had for her friends and animals. She tried to refuse becoming his dinner and kicked at his face with her left hoof, but it became more like pats as her motion stiffened and what little strength she had weakened. Pathetically, as she started to succumb to the green light around her, she tried one more time to call for help. Please, any pony, Twilight, guys, help me! Her voice died into a whisper, but no one could hear her cries. She was on her own. The changeling was satisfied as his victim lowered her arms and laid there panting, out of breath and further succumbing to the paralysing poison, leaving him free to drain her. His feeding was interrupted as a sharp sting was felt on his right arm. He gave out a small hiss and looked over to see that pesky white bunny biting into his hollow hoof. trying to make him release the yellow Pegasus. More annoyed now than ever, he yanked his arm away from the animal and battered him hard with it. This sent the rabbit flying through the air. Fluttershy beneath him cried out in a small voice, "Angel!" He didn't really care about her outburst until she started to feel her shift underneath him. When he turned his head back to look at her, he was shocked by a furious expression twisted on her face. She then snarled at him in an uncharacteristically loud voice, "No one hurts my angel!" She pushed her free hoof against his chest and was starting to lift him off her. He couldn't believe it. She was resisting the poison. In retaliation, he bit her arm harder, but suddenly she pulled her left hoof back from his chest and outward, kicking him hard on the side of the face with all her might. Pain slapped him like a wall, and he was so shocked by her unexpected strength that he released her arm. With her right hoof also free, Fluttershy pulled both her legs back and conked him hard in the chin with her hoofs. The force nearly broke his jaw as he stumbled back and fell onto his side. The green glow disappeared as soon as he let go, and he was weak once again. He lifted his muzzle from now muddy grass and gripping his head, dizzy and disorientated. When his double vision shook and focused into one, he looked around until he finally found her. The Pegasus wasn't looking down at him, but instead she was to the side of him, nuzzling the little hurt bunny. When she determined Angel was still alive and not seriously hurt, she turned her head back and gave him a glare. Such a glare it felt like a blade piercing his chest. Her blue eyes stared down at him and looked at him with such shame it made him look down at his old hooves. He still could feel her eyes on him as she approached, and he didn't bother looking up at her yellow hooves came into sight as the pony had bested him, and he was now too weak and dizzy to really fight back. His eye was bruised and starting to swell shut, and his lip was busted and bleeding with green blood. The changeling waited for the pony to hurt him again, or talk hatefully, but instead what he got was a voice mixed with anger and concern. "I'm sorry I had to do that, but it serves you right, you big meanie." Meanie wasn't the word he was expecting as he looked up to her. He winced as she stared down at him with the same glare. His ears then folded back as she snapped at him. "You creatures really disgust me, you know. The way you feed off our love so greedily. Oh, if I wasn't any better, I would kick you in the face right now." She calmed down slightly and frowned at him, muttering, "But I won't." The Pegasus moved over and pulled out a handkerchief that lined inside her basket. She brought the handkerchief over and dropped the white cloth at his feet. He looked up at her in confusion, waiting for her to explain her actions. Instead, the mare only said quietly, "I'd clean up that blood on your face and get out of the rain if I were you." She picked up Angel Bunny by the scruff. "You could catch a cold." She said one last sentence so quietly the changeling thought he had imagined it for a second as she galloped off with a slight limp, leaving him in the rain and her basket of roses behind. He looked from where she had disappeared and down to the handkerchief on the ground. Did that really just happen? He had been alone ever since he had been severed from his queen, but now he sat there, bloody and in pain in the forest with no others around him. He realized just how alone he really was. Anger rose within him as he tried to understand her disgustingly kind actions. He had tried to hurt her, and she dared to insult him with these injuries, followed by stupid understanding. The changeling snarled, and he stomped the hooked handkerchief into the mud. That pony wasn't going to get away with this humiliation. He didn't know how, but he would find her, and he would make her pay. Hey everybody, I hope you enjoyed that little reading. It's the first chapter of the fanfiction, The Changeling and the Pony. I can't actually remember who wrote it, but obviously it wasn't me because I'm not skilled in writing stories, and that is the honest truth. If you want to hear more, or like, comment, and subscribe, and I will be doing in the next episode or chapter, reading the next chapter sometime later in the week. So yeah.